Now, I'm going to do something we hadn't planned. Introduce Roland Werner.
My dear brother Roland, somebody whom I respect and deeply and greatly admire. First, for who he is. Second, for what he does. Not just the difference that he makes in Germany and Europe, but across also to Africa. Somebody whose heart is with God's people and his desire is to see more being led to Jesus. My brother Roland Werner.
Roland Werner.
Thank you. I should have recorded that, sir. That was wonderful.
Okay, just one word of what you appreciate, what you've heard from Peter. Just one word. Clarity? Okay, good. Thank you, Peter. Good. Roland, come on. Come up here. Roland Werner. Switch your mics out there.
Hallelujah.
Oh, hello, Roland. Great. And where's Elka? Elka's here.
My wife's
Elka
back.
is a wonderful women's leader in Germany and throughout Europe.
And it's great to be back here at the YMCA, because when I was with the German YMCA, we had a meeting here about maybe 2014, and the Charlotte YMCA was what I thought, you know, that's what German YMCAs should do. So I was very happy to be. I'm very happy to be back here.
Very glad you're back too. Now you had the Zinzendorf Institute. Any Moravians here? Anybody here knows the Moravians around here? So are you Zinzendorf's successor?
No, I think he was 200 or 300 years young. He was better looking than me, but I like the name because he was the world mission leader. He was a mentor, like yourself. He was a man of a great heart and great vision, and I think many people can identify with him.
Well, he was Count Nikolai von Zinzendorf,
Yes.
and it was an artist who brought him to Christ. It was a painting of the resurrection of Jesus that made him stop, a young playboy, to woo. And
Yes.
out of that came the wonderful Moravian movement. That we have them, as you know, here in North Carolina. So, Roland Werner, what is the short statement of what you do? The short version.
Okay,
You told me in the car.
yes. In German we say, ich nehme mir Zeit für Gott und für Menschen. I take time for God and for people. And that's now at this stage of my life. I've done many things. We were church planters, and I was with the YMCA. We do a Bible translation project in the Sudan, where I'm still involved in, where we go one month or 2 months every year. So there's many, many, many things. But I think what I'm trying to focus on, and that is what I learned from you, is really to invest in the next generation and to have time. That's why I stepped down from some of these very, very busy ministries, because sometimes needs come up and you need to just have time for people. So that's my greatest joy, and I think I learned a lot of that from you.
I'm going to brag on you a little bit, because I'm intimidated around these very brilliant scholars here. But Roland is a preacher. He can read, speak 12 languages. He can read about 20 languages. He has double PhD. He heads the Zinzendorf Institute. He preaches, he teaches. He goes to the Sudan every year, as he said. There's people around the Nile River, the Nubians, 500,000 of them. They used to be Christians, and they're retranslating the Bible. He goes there every year because it's cold in Germany, it's warm in the Sudan. That's why he goes there.
That's the main reason.
Every year. So you could say, and we could ask Elke even more. First I met you through an Oxford University mission with our friend J. John, and I can tell all the things he's done in Germany. Out of the many things you do, what is the one thing that is most important to you?
As I would say there's two things. One is mentoring, and the other is evangelism. I was just in Serbia 2 weeks ago, and this is, I think, my 7th time in Serbia, and I preached to students and small groups, larger groups, and one of the things, and you're going to ask me a little bit about what's the state of the church. One of the things that I remember in Serbia is we were invited to by the Crown Prince of Serbia. After communism, they brought back the Crown Prince, Alexander. And they didn't want to make him king, but they still wanted to have him around, as a figure for representation. So they gave him the White Palace. And this White Palace, in the communist time, was the residence of Tito, General Tito, the communist leader. So they had a chapel there for the king earlier, but he didn't want a chapel because he was communist, so he didn't need a chapel. So he used it as a shed for the garden gear. And when they first entered as communists, entered this chapel, they saw this image of Jesus Christ up in the cupola, and one of the partisans took his gun and shot Jesus just between the eyes. So you can still see that. So this Crown Prince of Serbia, Alexander, leads me there and says, look at that, they shot Jesus between the eyes, but now the garden gear is out and it's still used as a chapel. They keep that as a memory. So it's like a little story that in the communist East, they try to get rid of God, but God is still there and communism is gone. In most places, there's still a few places, but anyway. So that and to bring the gospel into these situations, but not to come, say, from Germany, from the West, as somebody who's like superior and says, "Oh, we always knew how it was," but really to come alongside and to sit with the students to talk about, as Peter said, to talk about their questions. That is my heart's joy.
We hear that the big churches of Europe are empty, and if you've been there and walked in them, many of them are. I know the place where you meet in Marburg. I saw that huge. I have a painting I did of that church, about 7 or 8 people on Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
But on Thursday and Friday nights, you have several hundred students.
Yes.
And Elka, I know, has been the pastor there.
Mm-hmm.
So take again, in the dark, there's the tomb and there's the womb. What are the new things that you see coming? Where we understand Christianity is about dead. Is that true in parts of Europe?
Well, I think it is dead. It's dying. Mainstream Christianity is dying, and when Notre Dame Cathedral burned in was it last year? Mm-hmm. Some of the newspapers said, the church this is the end of the church in Europe. I mean, it was like a symbol for the end of the church. And I think it is true that many of the mainline churches, the Lutheran church that we have in Germany and other places, they're really phasing out. In Germany, it is still kept up by the state, the church tax. So anyone who is not actively left the church will be a member of the church automatically by birth, and a certain percent of your income goes into that. So the church is rich, although it is empty. I mean, they have a lot of money, and I say a lot of money. And that's true for the Catholic and the Protestant church. But so we see this decline. At the same time, I think we see 2 major movements. One is there's new forms of church springing up everywhere. Young people getting together, saying we have to do something about it. Sometimes it's within this church system, sometimes it is outside. So we have a new, non-traditional kind of church starting all over. Some of it to do with the arts, some of it to do with the strong experiences of the Holy Spirit, all of it having to do with community, because that's what people are looking for in our society that is getting so segregated and so isolated. People look for community. The other thing that I think God is doing, there's a lot of debate in Europe. What about all these migrants and asylum seekers that come from the Near East, that come from Syria, from Iraq, from Africa? So there's a lot of debate, and as you know, also our right-wing parties are now getting stronger because they say we have to get rid of these people, and the government is giving them money, but it's not giving us money, and so forth. It's a whole big thing. And there's I think truth on many sides, as mostly problems you can find on both sides of the argument. There is some truth there. But what I find is that God is actively working amongst the immigrants, and we are so thankful for the African churches, the Indonesian churches,
what
the
do you
Filipino.
mean African churches?
Well, a lot of migrants from, say, Nigeria or Ghana, they come and they form their own churches, and the churches are for the parish church where Elke comes from. We come from Duisburg, which is in the industrial area of the Ruhr Valley, where the Ruhr meets the Rhine. The church where she was as a child was empty and was closed. So that was one of the many churches that's been closed or sold. It's a historic church. And now we hear that an African church has bought this, and they're full. It's full again. So the Africans are bringing Christianity, lively Christianity, back into Europe. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
And amongst the immigrants, God is doing amazing things. I baptized a number of Kurdish young men and Syrian young men in the last few years, Iranians.
Tell us about the guy that you met that
Yes.
you were telling us about over dinner.
Well, he actually sent me a WhatsApp message this morning. This guy, this Kurdish young man from North Iraq, from the Kurdish area. He was a strong Muslim. He was a Salafist, very extreme Muslim, Sunni Muslim. But he got in contact with some people who work with World Vision there, and World Vision brought aid to these people, and there were some Americans there, and he realized that these American World Vision people were Christians, and they were helping the Muslims without asking, "Are you Muslim? Are you Christian? What are you?" And he said, "Well, I've been taught to hate the Christians, but why do they love us and why do they help us?" And so he started talking to them. He wanted to find more about them. And his Salafist friends, his group, said to him, "If you continue speaking with the Christians, we're going to kill you." And he still continued that. And then they wrote him a paper under his door, and it said, "Stop immediately, or you will be killed." So that's when he decided he had to leave Iraq, and he came to Germany, traveling like they all do, walking on foot. Anyway, so he ends up in front of this big cathedral church in Marburg for some reason, and this friend of mine who works with IFES University speaks to him, says, "Who are you?" And they can hardly communicate because he didn't know English, he didn't know German. But anyway, he brought him to me, and then with my limited Arabic and his even more limited Arabic, because his mother tongue is Kurdish and not Arabic, I was able to lead him into the Christian faith and baptize him. And we baptized him with translation into Kurdish through another young Kurdish guy who I'd baptized 5 years earlier. Alan is his name. And he is so happy. And then a few months after he had this baptism, he dreamed, and he wrote me and he said, "Roland, I'm so happy. I've dreamed about Jesus." Often they dream about Jesus before they come to faith in Christ, but he dreamed about Jesus later, and he said, and I said, "Well, what did Jesus do?" And he says, "Well, he stood there and he smiled at me, and I realized that I'm really loved." So we see that is happening there, and I could tell many, many stories, and we don't have that much time. But I want to just say that God is doing this amazing thing in the midst of all the turmoil. God is moving. And that's why I have hope for Europe, because the churches are going down, but I think God is doing a new thing. And he's doing it from an angle that is not with the German middle, but it's from the fringes. And that is very interesting.
Are you the German middle?
Well, I look like him, whatever.
Okay, so our question, who's going to lead? Who do you see, again, who are going to be the future leaders that we can pray for in Europe?
Well, I think
you've had 2 mentoring groups yourself.
I have 2 mentoring groups through Leighton and Roland. One is called All for One, and we've been together for 12 years. And this is probably going to wrap up because they are like in their mid-40s now. I feel like I've given them what I can give them. There's another group which we started 2 years ago, and that has a Brazilian missionary in Jordan, has a sports evangelist from Macedonia, has a Slovak Lutheran pastor from Serbia, has a musician and educator from Croatia, has the leader of Jews for Jesus in Berlin, has a pastor from Iceland, from the largest church. So it's a European group. And
what holds them together?
Well,
your wonderful.
I brought them to. Well, they speak to each other more than they speak to me now, which is good. They're all in their 30s, and I think they're just so excited because normally we don't make these links. Yeah. I mean, Europe is Iceland, Serbia, they would never meet. But out of that, you can have a lot of synergy. And that's what I learned from you, to bring people together, to create a safe space, to put Christ in the center, but allow a lot of freedom. And so I'm thankful for your example and for Leighton Ford Ministries also making that possible through the Zinzendorf Institute. Can I tell you one more? Can I say one more thing? I first
Shall we
met
take a vote on it? You heard enough? You know?
I first met Leighton 40 years ago, in 1979 in Stuttgart. He was speaking at a youth rally, and I happened to be the interpreter for an American choir from a Florida Bible college. They were called the Internationals or something like that. And they used to travel Europe, and somehow I was hauled into that to travel with them. So I'm 21 or what? 21, 22. Leighton is standing there on the stage, and I'm standing on the back of the stage with his choir. And I thought I would really like to be able to speak like this man, you know. But we didn't. Maybe we shook hands, but we didn't speak. So another 10 years, I see you on stage in Manila at the Lausanne II meeting, and again I think, oh, I'd like to know this man. But then, you know, Leighton was like up there. You
And
know,
now I would like so much to be like
yes,
you.
thank you.
I wish I
And
could
then we
speak
met
you.
in England, and then we met in
Yeah.
England, and then you invited me. So that was. So we go back a longer time than you realize, Leighton.
Okay, who's the better preacher, you or Elke?
You are Elke.
Go
Elke.
Go sit down.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.